folks who aren't here tonight. And I will also share my screen just so I can go over our agenda in minutes. And I'll start, as I always do, with our website, because we do put a lot of information on here. And since we're not meeting in person, you don't have the handouts and things at the front table. So if you go to our website, you'll see all of our meeting information on here. And then I add these quick links right here for our current agenda, minutes from the previous meeting. Tonight, we're going to be talking about our capital improvement program list. And so you can see where the list is at here. We'll have a draft MOU with Oak and Keg, which is for a package store liquor license. We'll also have our audit report, and then there's a meeting handouts tab, and those just take you to the direct links that are all listed here. So I just kind of briefly went over what we've got on the agenda for tonight. We'll start with our updates and then move into those specific topics. And we also have our minutes posted from our April meeting as well, and emailed those out ahead of time. It took a few times to email the right minutes and agenda out, but hopefully you got those. And so with that, I will entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda, which is our minutes from last meeting and our current agenda for this meeting.
Move to approve.
I
That's
second.
Tom McGrath.
Tom moves and Irene seconds. Thank you. Who seconded? And with that, I will start us off by just introducing our executive board members. Can give a wave. We've got Irene Person-Gamble, who serves as our vice president. Meg Milkey is our secretary, diligently taking notes throughout the meeting. We've got Peggy Oth, who serves as our auditor. We also have Julie Leonard, who serves as auditor. We have Tani Sakaricia, who also serves as auditor with 3. And then Arina Filipenko, our treasurer. I think I got everybody. So that's our executive board. And just shout out to them, really appreciate them and all the work they do to get these meetings going. So we will start with our legislative report and are here to welcome Senator Natasha von Imhoff. We'll also look if other legislators have joined us on our list. I haven't checked yet, but I'll give you the floor. Thanks for being here, Natasha.
Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you for having me here today. So you guys have been reading the headlines just as like I have, and the House has sort of stymied its forward momentum a little bit. So the Senate today dropped a operating budget, which we normally don't do. We usually wait for the House to drop their budget and then we respond. But as everyone knows, the 121st day is May 19th. That's when we're constitutionally bound to have a budget done. So that's in short order. So time is of the essence. So the Senate, like I said, dropped our operating budget today, and we are going to hopefully match it with the House Sunday, Monday, and have all next week to do something what we call conference committee, where we compare and contrast and tick and tie with each individual item and negotiate with each of the 17 departments. In addition, of course, we have to worry about the permanent fund dividend. And then we have this whole COVID money. So we have a bunch of federal money coming in. We actually have $1.019 billion to be exact of cash coming in at some point in the next 3 to 6 months that we need to figure out what to do with as well. I think what's happening now is we may take that $1 billion and split it over 2 years. So it'll be about $500 million for this particular upcoming budget, $500 million for the next budget in 2023. And then of the budget for this year, we may do some of it now by May 19th. And I think there's discussion about this whole legislature coming back and meeting again, August, to deal with the remaining, few $100 million left capital budget, maybe a different PFD, maybe broadband. I think we're also waiting for federal guidelines. So we're working really hard to get out by May 19th and have an operating budget and some form of a capital budget, and then probably meeting again August, I think. And I think the federal government at that point will have more guidelines and let us know how we can spend the money. So I will pause there for any questions, Lindsay, if you'd like.
Sure, thank you. I don't see any in the chat, so if any questions, you can flag me down or click the raise your hand feature.
Well, I'll just add just a little bit more in that we are seeing bills, albeit it is a 2-year session. We're the first year of the 2-year session. So bills that may not be passed now, don't fret. We have all next year. There's a lot of bills now that are being passed by the House or by the Senate. Then they have to switch because you have to have both bodies approve. So those things will occur next January. So we are negotiating every day. A lot of discussions, and as much as it is difficult to see, that's how the sausage is made, and it's a constant discussion. So I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding, and by gosh, I hope we're done by the 19th.
Great. We do have one question from Allison Kelly. It's about how to address cost and efficiency, especially for schools with year-to-year versus long-term budgets. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, that's a big topic. I think at this point, we're trying to hold all of education hold harmless. Education is also getting $368 million from the federal government in short order. And we passed the disaster bill that raised the fund balance, meaning that schools can save that money for the next 3 or 4 years and spend it however they see fit. We're not going to make them pay it or spend it in the next year or so, which was what we normally would have to do. We removed that fund balance. And so schools, all of the school districts are collectively are getting $300 million. And that's just this recent money. They already received another $200 million prior. So all in all, about $500 million for school districts around the state. And that should help do the glide slope for the next couple of years. And then we may have to rethink education because the federal government's giving us a lot of money for broadband. So we have to decide how much in-person, how much broadband, how much virtual learning is healthy for kids. Pros and cons, I guess.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Senator Von Hemont, for joining.
Thank you, Lindsay.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Great. Well, so now we'll move it into our local reports. And unfortunately, our Assembly member, Cameron Presverdia, is weathered in at Hooper Bay. So he has no internet and can't join us, unfortunately. But fortunately, we have Judy here. So I will turn it over to Judy Jessen, and we'll do our best to make sure Cameron is here for June meeting. Judy, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Great.
My hair looks so much cuter in person, and for that, I can do nothing but apologize.
You look great.
Thank you all for tolerating me as a less than ideal substitute for Cameron. I want to keep the update pretty brief. Obviously, the first thing on everybody's mind is that we have another election. So you've all probably voted, but if you haven't, make sure to return your ballot how you see fit. You can mail it with 55 cents of postage or a 1 forever stamp. You can drop it in a secure drop box located conveniently in your neighborhood, or you can vote in person. In-person voting is open at City Hall, at the Lusac Library, and if any of you are commuting, there's also a location in Eagle River. Let me know if you need any more information about that, but it's standard business hours. I'm not sure what their weekend operating hours are. I was trying to find it on the fly before Lindsay called on me, but I failed. The COVID update, the only major COVID update is one, we were surprised to learn that many people weren't aware that almost all of the public health regulations that were put into place through the emergency orders have been lifted. That includes the requirement for physical distancing. All of that guidance, with the exception of the mask mandate, has been converted to a strong recommend, but no longer a mandate. So that's given businesses some flexibility. It's shifting more personal responsibility to people. The mask mandate is still in effect and is still law. So we're not quite out of the woods yet, but the vaccine progress is really promising, which leads really nicely into the second COVID update, which is that we're expecting the Pfizer authorization for youth age 12 to 15 any day now. It's looking like it'll be late this week or early next week was the last best information that we have. The Muni is going to be standing up youth specific clinics as quickly as they can. Medical Park Family Clinic is also going to be vaccinating youth. So just keep your eyes out. Following the Office of Emergency Management on Facebook is probably the best way to get information about the pop-up clinics, but we have them in the Diamond Center. They're still doing pop-up events related to cultural events as part of the Muni's Sleeves Up for Summer campaign. Just remember, when we get to 70%, I think all of the guidance switches from law to strongly encouraged. So I know that's something that a lot of people are shooting for, myself included. I can't wait to see everybody's beautiful face. Please get your shots if you can and if you want to. While we're still doing things under a COVID model, people have had a lot of questions about city cleanup. You can get your city cleanup bags at the Anchorage Chamber of Commerce. You can go to their website for more information. The transfer stations will be collecting those bags for free all through the month of May. Also, please remember to sign up for your free dump pass. They have to be used at the Anchorage Transfer Center, the main one off of Highland. They can't be used at the Midtown Transfer Station, although Girdwood residents can use the Girdwood transfer station. Again, it's online this year. That was a really great system that kept people from having to wait in those kind of absurdly long lines that they used to have to access the dump. So it made sure that a lot more people could use the service and benefit from the free pass. So you can do that by going to the Solid Waste Services website for the Muni. I will drop the link in the chat also. And if you don't have internet access or are not comfortable using the internet to do that, you can also call Solid Waste Services directly, and I will drop that link in the chat also. Full of good news. I'm full of good news today. Bad hair, good news.
Thanks, Judy. And that reminds me that the Spenard Rec Center is having a free COVID clinic on May 11th from noon to 7, and you can sign up and schedule an appointment, or you can just walk in. The rec center is also a great Dropbox location for your ballots. So all of that is connected. And we'll talk.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, you can get a lot in. It'll be a good day. And we're going to talk more about the cleanup in just a little bit. So does anybody have questions for Judy or anything she can work with Cameron on in the meantime?
Lindsay, I do. Sorry, I couldn't raise my hand. And you honestly probably won't know the answer to this, but in thinking about how we clean up and the issues, especially walking around neighborhoods, you'll see a lot of properties that have a lot of trash in the yards or in the driveways. And I'm wondering if the city currently has a program for folks who can demonstrate financial hardship, who may not be able to afford trash services, whether it's through SWS or Alaska Waste, in order to basically help get them on a list so that they can actually receive either free dump passes or better yet, actual trash collection services, which would be really awesome and probably help with the trash issue in our neighborhoods. So suggestion, yeah.
Yeah, if I were in charge of things, I would co-sign. I will pitch it to Cameron. I think that's a creative and smart idea that makes a lot of good sense. So I will pass it forward.
Well, thank you.
I'm not elected though, so that is non-binding.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm not seeing other questions, so thank you, Judy.
Thank you all so much for having me. I'm going to be lurking in the background taking notes to give a report to Cameron, and Tanya will definitely highlight that idea. You guys are so good to me. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you. And I have been reaching out to the school board to get a new representative. Somerset is no longer on the school board, and we just voted new representatives in, and we still don't have a liaison unless they are here, and I just haven't heard. No, okay. So still really working on trying to figure out who from the school board serves as our representative. So without that, we'll go ahead and move on to the airport report with John Johansson. Welcome, John.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. I'm having a very brief report today, but at least I have one as opposed to last month when I, due to personal technical errors, was not able to get in and participate. Okay, so coronavirus updates at the airport. We are in the process of kind of phasing out the DHS tables in the main hall near the Ted Stevens statue, and only have a few tables left there for the travel declaration form information. The airport is actually on June 1st. I should say DHSS on June 1st is going to have set up kind of on south end of B ticketing where we used to have Grizzly Pizza. They are going to have a vaccine clinic there for free for anybody, including residents and non-residents. So any travelers that come into the state will be able to go there and get vaccinated. And that's thanks to the folks at DHSS. Cell phone parking lot, we're still encouraging all folks to use our cell phone parking lot and avoid traffic jams at the curbside when you're picking up your friends and family. The Great Alaska Aviation Gathering, the big event that's always held at the FedEx hangar this year, is not being held at the FedEx hangar this year. It's been moved out to the Palmer Fairgrounds and the Palmer Municipal Airport. So the aircraft displays will be at the airport, and all of the vendors and so forth will be at the fairgrounds. So we're kind of out of the loop on that, but hopefully it'll be a great event, and eventually they'll move back to the airport. I'm not sure what the impetus was for them moving it out there. I think it had something to do with more lax COVID requirements in the valley, which have by now been kind of relaxed here in Anchorage too. So I don't know if at this point it would be necessary, but they already made all the arrangements to have it out there. So it's going to be out there. And we are having, and that is May 8th and 9th at the fairgrounds. So that is actually this weekend. Airport recruitment, we're still looking for a whole boatload of people to hire. If you're interested in that, you can go on our website, anchorageairport.com, and download this update, which has the information and contact information for those job openings at the airport. And that's all I have. I'm willing to entertain any questions or take some comments if you have any.
Great, thank you. And I just put the link for the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering in the chat. Does anyone have questions for John? All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll keep rolling. We're happy to have Officer Reed back. Thank you for joining us. And are interested in just an update of what you've been seeing. I thought he was here. Yeah, there you go. So welcome, Officer Reed.
Thank you, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Wow.
Good. I'm sorry, my computer's a little quiet. I was hoping you can hear me all right. Personally, I've been out on an injury and some training for the past about month since the last meeting, so I haven't had much street time, but I've been able to talk to some of the officers and leadership about what's been going on recently. I do have some follow-up I know we talked about the CIT question last month, and I have a little bit of direction on that, and I can try to talk to someone else and get some more information as we go. As summer spins up, we're going to see a lot more people out and about just, enjoying what Alaska has to offer as a whole. I'm here to answer any specific questions that the group has for me, though. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free, and I'm here to answer them.
Great, thank you. We do have a question if you just have any update on what's happening at the Chelsea Inn and Executive Suites, just some of those kind of problem hotels where there's often crime or drugs or other things happening there.
Yeah, and I can't speak to the specifics of what each individual group is doing. I think I talked about it a little bit, how we have different teams that respond for different reasons. So we have our CAP team and ISU team, which is the Investigative Support Unit, and they work in dealing with dangerous individuals and trying to apprehend them if they're involved or at these locations. And they do a lot of more undercover-based work. Patrol, generally speaking, if we're able to, it's, honestly, it depends on the call stack, because there's quite a lot of calls for service in the whole Anchorage area that we're trying to work through. But when we have time, we do our part to try to stop those hotels, talk to the owners, and work through issues that they're having. One of my personal projects I worked on, since I worked Spenard Midtown areas, I was working with Motel 6 off of International C Street for a while, just trying to help them out. I haven't been personally to a call at the Chelsea in about one a month, usually right now, so I can't speak to the specifics of what's going on there. And I know Executive does have some stuff going on, and I'm trying to get to know the staff there that runs it and see if we can help them solve any individual issues they're having.
Great, thank you. And then I think there's just the question of if you do have an update on the mobile crisis intervention teams. I think that's the CIT. That was something that folks spoke last time and would love.
Yeah, the CIT question, my lieutenant reached out to me and gave me some more information on that. So it sounds like they're actually run by the CAP team, the Community Action Policing team. So as I mentioned earlier, you can talk about hotels and issues hotels are individually having. The CAP team is a good resource for that. They help a lot with other issues throughout the city, and they're the ones CIT falls under. They're led by Officer Adolph, and right now Officer Adolph does ride essentially side by side with a mental health provider in her vehicle. And then each, when we have an availability to do so with the staffing, we have an officer specifically assigned to assist with CIT related calls on shift. We have different officers that are trained for the crisis intervention response. And it sounds like there are 2 social workers that are loosely assigned to CIT, and they can help with longer term issues and helping transitionary periods and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. We do have a question from Allison Kelly. She submitted multiple reports through Anchorage Works about ongoing trash dumping and what appears to be parts or things from scavenging in one of the vacant lots north of Northwood Park. And it seems like
north of which park?
Sorry,
I'm sorry, my computer, it's an older computer, it's quite quiet. North of which park?
Northwood Park.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there seem to be like camps or things back there. Is there any report or things going on back there?
Okay, so just so I can make sure I understand the question correctly, is that you're seeing that she's seeing some issues with either homeless camps that are popping up, trash and dumping issues, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so just like I mentioned earlier, it sounds like we're talking about the CAP team a lot tonight. The CAP team is specifically there to assist in those matters when it comes to homeless camps, because it's sensitive and tough topic to deal with, but the CAP team are the ones that specifically deal with that. So I can't speak to the specifics of what's going on at that specific location, but I do know CAP team would be the one that would get involved with those situations. Obviously, if patrol has a call that comes in, they need a specific problem handled, or if you're seeing something that's directly concerning, if you do call into the department and you call into like the non-emergency number or emergency number, depending on which is needed at that point in time, us as patrol would respond to those. But it sounds like those other stuff would probably most likely forward it to CAP team to work through.
Okay, great. Well, we could see about maybe getting a CAP representative next time.
Okay.
But we do have a question from Tawny. Go ahead, Tawny.
Thanks. I was just having a conversation with somebody about response times and how bad they used to be a couple of years ago. And I'm wondering if you have any updates on the average response times for the different types of crime we have. So whether it's violent crime or home invasion, theft, so that we could get an idea on how you have improved. If you've improved, that would be really helpful, I think.
Okay. So just so I can understand your question fully, make sure I got it. In the past, you did experience that response times for calls for service were longer, and you're trying to understand, like, is there a statistic that I have for you to give you to show you, like, what our response time is averaging right now? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, and when I say longer, I mean like it took 8 hours to the next day for somebody to come for a drunk driver that crashed into my neighbor's, like that sort of situation. So it was pretty bad,
I
3
understand
years
that.
ago.
Yep. Okay. So I don't have in front of me any statistics showing response times. I do have statistics showing calls for service, total reports taken. It sounds like it's about a 24% average for a call received. There's a 24% chance a report's gonna be written generally if it falls into that criteria, if we need a report's been needed. And there's a bunch of different other designations fall under. As for response times, it honestly, I can tell you, it just depends on the day. There's plenty of time. So I work swing shift, so I work from 3 in the afternoon to 1 in the morning. There's been times I've hit the street, we've had over 100 calls holding, and we just try to go through them as fast as we can, try to handle those calls as best we can, because once you're on a call, you got to investigate it to its fullest. And then as you're handling that call, continual more calls come to stack, and they're stacked to be a priority. And generally, if somebody comes in, if there's something where it's going to be a threat to someone's safety, that it comes in and starts stacking up. So some like issues like smaller parking issues, not like what you had going on, but with parking issues, those tend to get put down in the stack, and that leads to what I would imagine to be longer response times. I don't have any stats on response times with me, though. I can try to talk to my leadership and see if there's any way to get that information.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Matt? Or at least as best as I can?
Yeah, as best you can. Thank you. And then there's just a question from Judy asking how we can contact the CAP team. And CAP is Community Action
Policing Team.
Policing Team.
Yeah. So when it comes to contacting CAP, if you're having an issue, I would say at that point you would just call into the non-emergency, say, hey, I know you have a CAP team, I know they're working on this, and they can definitely forward that information to them. And some calls might require an officer to come out, do a quick look around, see what's going on, and they can write a short report and forward it to the CAP team so they can get more of an understanding of what's going on with that call. More often than not, I would imagine an officer would come out and talk to you and then forward the information over to CAP for you.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it answers the question for you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, any other questions? I don't think so. Thank you, Officer Reed. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, y'all, we are doing great on time, so we can dig into all these coming topics, which has never happened before. So, we introduced the citywide cleanup, but now that we're in May, we're in the middle of it, and we want to get folks out there in the neighborhood. So we've invited Katie Cole with the Anchorage Chamber of Commerce to share more about the citywide cleanup, and then Tawny is interested in getting a team together and wants to share out about that. So we'll start and turn it over to Katie.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me today. Tawny has kind of recruited me. I feel like I'm her new into her community council fold. So I hope I get to see you all plenty because I'm in the Spenard area. So my name is Katie Cole. I am the events coordinator for the Anchorage Chamber of Commerce. So citywide cleanup is my baby. And we're extremely excited that it was able to stay in this form of a month long, which we pivoted to last year in order to promote social distancing. So this is kind of its new iteration. Along with a month long, we do have pop-up events throughout the month of May. As was listed in the chat, there's a link to the Citywide Cleanup website. You can also get there to the same location by going to citywidecleanup.org, and that hosts so much information. But really, I'm here to just kind of answer your questions about how do you get orange bags? Where do you dump them for free? Please don't leave them on the side of the road. What kind of objects you can't throw away for free, et cetera, et cetera.
Hey, is this time for questions or?
Yeah, sorry. So I'll just open it up for questions because I like that citywide cleanup has kicked off and started. So, and of course, all of you are pretty familiar with the 53-year-long event. So I'll just answer questions.
Great, sounds good. Thanks, Katie. Go ahead, Jared.
We did some cleanup along the highway last week, and there was a day to go dump for free. Was that the only day for the month, or is there going to be other days where it's free to dump?
Absolutely. So the orange bags, the reason why they're such a big deal is they are free to dump all month long until the 29th. So you can get your orange bags at a local Fred Meyer or some of our other listings on the on the maps at citywidecleanup.org. And those orange bags will be free to dump at Northern Waste, the transfer center, or at the landfill up until May 29th, because the landfill and the center will be closed on the 30th and 31st. Again, when we pivoted last year in discussions with Solid Waste Services, they did get rid of the free dump days that we all knew and replaced it with what we've been talking about, that free summer dump pass. So those big items that we're seeing in alleyways, like leftover dishwashers or small refrigerators, or all of these things that we can't put into orange bags and dump for free, you can get the free summer dump pass. And so you're not confined to the citywide cleanup, 3 days to dump for free.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah. Go ahead, Tanya.
can I add just one thing about the free dumping? So as you do cleanup, one thing that inevitably happens is you might come across a needle or some sort of sharps. Obviously, we're not encouraging you to handle those. If you have puncture-proof gloves, which they do sell at AIH or Spenard Builders Supply or Lowe's. One, I wanted to share how you can safely dispose of them, which is if you have a hard-sided container, like a Gatorade bottle or a laundry bottle, something that is puncture-proof essentially, you can actually put sharps, glass, needles into that, seal it up really well. And if you need to add some duct tape around the seam as just in case so it doesn't pop off. And then you can actually put that secure bin into your trash bin or into a trash bag and dump it at the free dump. Alternatively, if you don't have a hard container like that, and what I actually do is I just went to Costco and bought my own sharps container. It's like $3 and it's huge, so it's pretty awesome. But you can, if you have just like one of a thinner plastic container, you can take it and then bring it to 4A's on fireweed, and they will incinerate it for you. So they'll take the stuff that isn't the really hard plastic, and they'll get rid of it. So just keep that keep that in mind when you're out and about.
Good, thank you. Any other questions for Katie?
Well, if there are no other questions, I'll just close it out with, we really hope to see some of you at our pop-up events throughout the month. They can be found on our website. The next one coming up will be downtown in Town Square. As part of these pop-up events, we're giving away the orange bags. We're collecting them for free. And our title sponsor, Matson, is giving away prizes throughout the month of May as well. So all you have to do is take a picture of yourself cleaning up and go to their website, which is, all of the links are on ours, to enter to win those prizes.
Cool. And Tanya, do you want to share about a Spenard Community Council cleanup?
I do. So I put together, with the help of my amazing friends with the executive committee, a Spenard pop-up event to meet and we called the team Spenardians Clean Spenard. Not super original, but we can make a t-shirt and somebody can slap that on there. But we are meeting on Saturday, May 8th, so this coming Saturday, in the parking lot behind the, Village Inn? Is that the right? Yeah, okay. The Village Inn Napa area, because the Village Inn is closed. We're going to meet in the parking lot. I will have a bunch of orange bags. We'll have gloves. I even, courtesy of Matson, who is an awesome sponsor, they gave me some of the grabbers to pick up trash. So for those folks who might want, well, I like picking up trash with those things because who wants to bend over like 50 times in a row and pick up trash? That's a back killer. So we have a couple of those. We'll have hopefully snacks. We're asking for the council to approve up to like $50 to use for water, gloves to use, and other sort of things to entice people to join us. Also, I have swag from the citywide, courtesy of the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Katie, and then Matson. I do have some swag that they gave me that we can give out to volunteers. So that again is May 8th from 1 to 4 p.m. And probably, if you come late, I might maybe leave a bucket of bags, orange bags by my vehicle. So if you want to use that as your chance to just pick up bags, come by, get some bags, take them back to your neighborhood, or you can private message Lindsay and we can get connected. You could just come by my house to pick up bags. It's encouraging everyone to get involved. The other thing, since we have just a couple minutes, I wanted to share as an idea. Oh, maybe we should vote on should we vote before I move on to the next part?
Thanks for remembering that. So I'm gonna just say, is there any objection to the Spenard Community Council spending up to $50 for this event? I'm seeing head shaking. Okay, then we'll go ahead and do that and trust Connie to make that happen. And we'll have a full audit report very soon, so you'll know our status. Thanks,
Okay,
Tom.
perfect. So yes, we will have we'll have gloves for folks too, and some other snacks that are easily managed, because that was a frequent complaint. It doesn't have to be too involved. All right, so the other thing I wanted to mention was I had a conversation with he's like the director of communications and community relations for Matson. And he was telling me that they have a community grant program they're kicking off, and it's in the soft launch phase. And it is community grants up to $2,500. And they're giving out money to make Anchorage a better place. And immediately what came to my mind is maybe there are some ideas within this group, and we can always talk about it at the cleanup while we're cleaning up. We can spitball some ideas, but if there is something we could do for $2,500 to make Spenard a better place. One of the things he mentioned is that they'll pay for a trash pickup. So they'll pay for a giant dumpster and then actually hauling it away. And I thought also about our neighbors who have a lot of trash. Maybe there's a way to spread the word and get people to, bring those washers and dryers and tires, things that inevitably seem to end up in my alley. I don't know about your alleys. But in doing something like that, or even figuring out if we can install temporary trash cans. So that was, and then of course, it doesn't just have to be for us. I wanted to also share that as an opportunity for you to take and maybe come up with your own idea outside of this organization. So my understanding is it's in soft launch, which means we just have to email him for the application. And they're really just wanting to make Anchorage a better place for everybody. So wanted to share that. And if folks have questions, you can ask, or we can move on.
Thanks for that, Tanya. That sounds great. And especially with Matson sponsoring the citywide cleanup, it could be cool to tie it into a local project. Can you share in the chat box with us just more information about who at Matson to reach out to if you can, so I can share that out?
I can. He gave me a business card and I think it is in my living room. So let me figure that out. But for now, email Spenard email.
Katie Cole, don't worry. Yeah,
I got your back. That's actually a program that we're sort of helping them with, which is super exciting. His name is Dylan Faber. So it's D Faber at, I believe, Matson.com, and he is there. He is my partner in crime this year. But their Caring for Alaska program is listed on their website.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect. Cool. Cool. Yeah, send us ideas and we can talk as an exec board about applying for a mini grant. Thank you. Any last questions about the cleanup? Who's going to be there on Saturday? I'm imagining a lot of hands for people I can't see. Michelle, we'll see you there.
Yes, please come. I love seeing hands. This will be our mini in-person, socially distanced meetup, because we haven't seen each other in over a year in person. So we can be purposeful about really making our streets a much more beautiful place to walk along, because some of the parts of Spenard in our neighborhoods are looking a little rough, y'all, and could use some TLC.
Agreed.
Is this the only day you guys are getting together? I'm out of town for like 2 weeks.
This is the official pop-up. event. However, if there is another day that folks want to partner up and go clean an area, I think if you want to message the Spenard email, because I'm always down to join somebody and help out, and we can kind of create a nice little network. And then the Chamber of Commerce has a number of pop-ups throughout the month that if you can't attend this one, you can go to a different one.
Okay. Cool.
All right, I'm going to keep us rolling. So our next topic is a discussion about Oaken Kegs package store liquor license renewal, a process that the Community Council has adopted in the last few years is to work on entering memorandums of understanding with package store liquor licenses. And that's the hope of this memorandum of understanding, to open a line of communication, have an opportunity for us to have conversation, especially if concerns or things arise within the community, that we have a process to initiate to engage on that. It's similar to the marijuana licenses where we have neighborhood responsibility plans around those. And this is more specific for package stores. And I'm glad Tom McGrath is here because I know he helped make that happen and a lot of others. And so when a license comes up for renewal or is a new license, we invite the business to come to our meeting, talk about what they're planning, if they have any concerns about the license or the MOU itself, that kind of stuff, and an opportunity to hear from you all if there are concerns or things to flag, and just have that conversation going. So glad to have Stephanie here. I emailed lots of folks at Cars Safeway and it all came back around to Stephanie, who is at this local Oaken Keg. So I'll just turn it over to you, Stephanie, to share a little bit about the operations there. I think lots of folks are probably familiar with it, and then we'll just have a discussion, and I could also share the draft MOU as well, so folks can take a look at that while you chat.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm on my phone and my computer at the same time here. So before we get into that, I will say I've talked to Katie over the phone before, but haven't met her, but we would be more than happy to provide water donations for the cleanup on May 8th. So, if that's something you're interested in, Katie has my contact information, and reach out to me, and we would absolutely love to provide, water or snacks for that cleanup and help support that. So yeah, absolutely. In regards to our packaged liquor license, I did have a chance to review the MOU, and we participate in a couple of other MOUs in Anchorage with, Fairview and Midtown Community Councils. I'm glad I finally got a connection here for Spenard. I'm district manager over half the stores in Anchorage, but I didn't have any connections for this. So I'll be joining meetings here in the future, and then my store director at our store on Northern Lights in Minnesota will be joining those as well. The MOU looks good. It's very, very similar to the MOUs that we have in some of the other community councils we operate. We're committed to ensuring we have security in all locations. We've done a very good job with that and have had no enforcement issues in any of our locations. So I think that goes to the efforts that we've taken to make sure that we're being responsible retailers and ensuring that we're following the right practices to, sell to the folks that we should, but protect the community otherwise. We don't sell any of the shooters or airplane bottles below $1.50. So that's something we've done here in the past 2 or 3 years in all of our stores. So that's something we can certainly commit to. We don't advertise any of the malt beverages. We don't sell any malt beverages above the pricing, which is outlined in your MOU. So we can certainly commit to that. There was a note in this MOU regarding the pricing a 6-pack of beer. That's not something we have in the other MOUs, but don't think it would be any issue for us. I did a price check at our store on Northern Lights, as well as 3 of our other stores in Anchorage, and we're not below that retail in any of our stores. So we can commit to that, and I'll work with our division pricing team to ensure we stay at that price or above, so that we're not going below that. And then the other thing we do is we keep a log in all of our stores of a refuse to sale log to ensure that, if we do have opportunities with folks coming in that we shouldn't be selling to, that we're keeping record of that. We work closely with our asset protection as well as local law enforcement to report any issues and make sure that, we're being responsible retailers in that respect. So I appreciate you pulling the MOU items up on there so everybody can see them. But there are no issues with anything we saw in the MOU. It's very, very similar to other MOUs that we've followed, and we're committed to, following those steps, being a responsible community partner, and, making sure that we can operate our business, but doing what's right for the community as well. So, I'm open to answer any questions, anything that anybody has, but we have no issues with the MOU that's outlined, very similar to what we follow in the other communities that we serve in the other community councils.
Great, thank you. It's really great to hear that just background and the approach that you have in all the stores. It looks like we have one question from Tani, and if others have questions or want to put it in the chat, please do. Go ahead, Tani.
Yeah, and actually this isn't so much a question as it is a kudos. There was a conversation around this coming up and the MOU process, my first reaction was, I don't think I've ever had any issues with walking by the cars and, seeing that sort of problematic aspect of, a liquor store with, the beer bottles or the containers or, excessive loitering. So I want to give you a kudos, and it's a little strange to do that sometimes because, you sell liquor, but whatever you're doing, in my opinion, I've lived in Spenard for 20 years in this side, it's working. And I also really appreciate that you are taking a proactive approach because I think that's what we're missing in so many of these smaller retailers who don't have that same attitude. And it feels like an uphill battle when we're just asking folks to show up and be positive parts of our community. So I really just want to thank you. And then also say, maybe you should start training for the brown jugs and the other stores, because I would love to see this same attitude across the board, because yeah, it's just fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us. And also thank you for offering to donate to our little pop-up event. Much appreciated.
Yep, 100%. Two things on that I'll say, appreciate the kudos. It's a concerted effort with all of our stores, and we take it seriously. We do multiple per day inspections around our building to look for bottles being dumped or, garbage or areas where people may be gathering, so that we can try to, prevent that and curtail it. So, I really have to give the kudos out to my store directors, because they're the ones that, really do this and live it day in, day out. But each of my visits to the stores, I walk it with them as well. And it's something that we do, and it's important to us to, as part of us being a responsible retailer in the area. And, we certainly want to be there to serve the customers, but we want to curtail the, other possible issues. So appreciate that. More than happy to donate water. Glad to have the opportunity to be part of this. I'm on the ALPAR, Alaska Litter Prevention and Recycling Board. And so it's very near and dear to my heart, the cleanup efforts that are happening. And I'm a busy person. I wish I had more time. I won't be able to make it May 8th, but I will certainly join some of the other events that we have going here through the month. And so more than happy to donate water, other snacks, and, just really happy to connect with the Spenard Community Council. Just made a store director change at our Northern Lights in Minnesota store. And I don't believe my former store director was part of the community council, but the current one's very interested in becoming part of that, and I'll attend meetings with her as well. So kind of glad that our packaged liquor license came up now, so I could get connected with all the folks here and then be part of that. So
thank you. And we've got Tom McGrath with the question. Go ahead, Tom.
I'd just like to make a comment that with COVID over the last year, alcohol sales could have just gone off the rails and been a major problem. But with the liquor stores and the providers and also the city working together, I have read up absolutely no problems as far as getting people what they need when they need it. And there's, of course, people that for one reason or another actually need alcohol. So just kudos to everybody. Did a great job, and we didn't see major problems that there has been in other communities. So I think Anchorage should give itself a collective pat on the back. Thank you.
Agree with that very much. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. And hopefully you were able to check it out ahead of time or while we were talking, so you could see and read more of it. But I'm going to put in the chat just the vote form to see if we should be adopting this memorandum of understanding. Oh wait, did somebody already do it? No. I'm doing too many things at once.
It's hard when you're running the meeting. I get it.
I'm like, oh, I put that in the chat. Like everything, this is kind of introduced by the executive board, and just want to make sure that we're okay with entering into the memorandum of understanding. Oftentimes we would discuss and include any comments or things, additions or changes into it, but hearing none of that, I'm just going to put the form in there to adopt or not. And while you click on that, we will go ahead and go over to Peggy and Bob.
Yeah, it was just a comment. Just on that MOU, it references Anchorage Wine House on the last page instead of Oaken Keg. So
We
that just
can edit
needs to
that.
be corrected.
Thanks. It will have that change. It should be. Okay, well, folks, do that. I'll move us into the next topic. Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate you joining tonight, and we'll continue doing that. We'll have you and the store manager, and we'll let the votes come in, and I'll probably lean on Arena to make sure that we get those all counted, and then I'll share those out in a little bit. And I'll move us into our next topic, which again, great on time. But we are going to talk about our capital improvement program, which is what CIP stands for. So I'm going to say CIP a lot. And we introduced this topic last month, and it's something that we revisit every single year. It's a role of the community councils to prioritize different roads, trail, park projects throughout our neighborhood. And it's something that if we prioritize a project and put it on our list, it could be moved into the municipality's 5-year list, which is with the goal of then having those priority projects eventually funded. Transportation park trail projects are pretty expensive, so it's a long process. So what we did as a community council is we build on our list every year. So the last 2 years we've done it by a survey, and we introduced the survey at the last meeting and collected responses through April 30th so that we could compile them for this meeting. And we had 42 responses from members within our community council. There were 10 from outside. Some of them were really close, just like across the border in Turnagain, but we couldn't include those. But it's all good information. A lot feels like Spenard. So what we do is we take our priority list from our previous year, put them on our survey, have folks rank them, and then we do a formula to work out how they fall onto the list. There were some new projects that people added in comments, and so we included those at the end of our list. And I should just share the list while I'm talking. We also had some folks include projects that are outside of our community councils. So we would just say that we recommend reaching out to those other community councils to say, hey, this was a priority project. Could you think about adding it to your CIP list, because that's where they could prioritize the project. So this is the current list that we received from receiving all of that input from within our community council. And I think it's just a really strong kind of through line to see a lot of projects and priorities that continue to be highly prioritized. And we worked on just tweaking it a little bit. So there were a couple projects that when we put the list together, some of them are funded, some of them are partially funded. Even the ones that are funded, well, maybe they need more funding, but we refined the list to just take out a couple projects. So Uri Park has been on our bond this last year, and it was just approved in the last election cycle. So we removed it knowing that it received that full funding. And then Lois Drive upgrade just from Benson to 32nd Avenue is another project that is also funded, and it's moving forward in design and construction. So those were the only two projects that we had removed. And this list continues to have a lot of priority projects that we've had in the council. And this year, Fish Creek daylighting had jumped to the top. It was already in the top 10, but you could kind of see just a little bit reshuffling for other projects. So I won't read through the whole list, but I will just scroll down to show the projects that were just outside of our boundary that we would just reach out to the other community councils, like the Fish Creek Trail to the Ocean was a project lots of folks put into their comments, but it's technically in Turnagain Community Council and just a couple of those other projects nearby. And I've started a conversation with some of those other councils like Midtown, and we'll just be able to reach out to them from there. So with that, I just want to open it up and see if there are questions, comments, or discussion, and then we do have another vote form so that we can vote on it. And we could make some tweaks on this if we want to ahead of time. As an exec board, when we were refining this, we said we really want to do as little adjusting as we can, because this did get the input from 42 of our members. And so it's as objective as we could be on this. So with that, does the executive board, anyone on the executive board want to share any comments before we open it up and see if there are questions?
Should I share my comment about the garden planning one? I don't know if that's appropriate though.
It's up to you.
Well, and I'm apologize because I may have missed this part of the conversation, but my one suggestion, but again, because we didn't do it in the executive committee board, I figure now might be the time, is that for number 6, you can see that there's the community garden site selection and design and management standards. My initial comment and thought was that seems pretty high for something that is just a selection and design process and doesn't have any immediate impact on our neighborhoods, like the Woodland Park safety improvements or the blue light phones or trash cans, not to be trash biased, but and so my suggestion was to move that down to like the 12 spot rather than having it so high up. Otherwise, but again, I might have missed a whole conversation about the garden project, and I don't want to impose on something people are not interested in doing.
I wouldn't say there was a conversation about it, but it's been on our CIP list for the last few years. And so that's where it stayed on the list, and it was elevated this year just based on survey responses. And there is a question in the comment box just asking for more detailed descriptions. So I'm just going to deviate for a second and then I'll highlight the community garden that we do have on our Facebook page. And I'm going to try to go slow because I know that it can be jarring to see all the pages move, but we do have a capital and transportation priorities tab right here, and this is where I've included our priority lists from the past. And so this 2021 I think it's this document, we'll see. Yeah, so this includes a little bit more detail about all of the projects, so we tried to show folks both while they voted. But these descriptions and the scope are created by the municipal staff. So not all of them have descriptions, but some of them do, like this Spenard Road resurface, surface rehab, that kind of stuff. So let me just show you community garden. Last year, it was our priority 16. And it has some information about what this means, and it's more about the demand for garden plots that a resident could kind of you don't buy, you kind of reserve a plot each year, and then you can garden from it. So that's the description of it, and it was elevated this year based on the survey responses. Does that make sense? Do you have other questions?
Isn't there the other community garden project that we talk about every year that isn't related to this? Maybe it's the Church of Love,
it's actually not the same, because the municipality manages these other gardens kind of listed below, Gardens at Bergaw, C Street Gardens, and that's where you can reserve a bed and it's in kind of a fenced in safe area that you then can garden for that year. The the Spenard Community Garden is kind of more of an open garden that helps serve the Lutheran Social Services and others who help out there. I'm learning lots about community gardening this year, let me tell you.
Hi, Lindsay. Is this like a wish list kind of that we send to the muni as a community council that, so they kind of, I guess, how does that work? Do they fund that, I guess, according to what we ask, I guess, on our priority list here?
Yeah, you can think of it as a wish list. The idea is that these are our priorities for kind of big ticket items that would need to be kind of in the queue for a while because of we only get a specific amount of federal funding each year. We get even less state funding each year to put towards transportation. So it's kind of that 5-year outlook on what the municipality can fund. And they ask each council to prioritize projects in their area. And there's a little bit of who knows how the sausage gets made in the background to actually move these projects in to get funded.
Right, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm gonna stop my share. Okay, well, I will put the vote form into the chat box on this.
Lindsay,
yes.
Bob has a question.
Go ahead, Bob.
Could you show or just describe whether there were any big differences between last year and this year?
I didn't do a comparison, honestly.
Okay.
All right, so I put the form into the chat box. And part of the reason I didn't do a comparison was just hearing what people said and having them put it in the list. And with that, I will also just share that I did receive some emails from 2 residents about traffic calming questions. And so traffic calming is another transportation related question. And as the snow has melted, I think folks have said, hey, there's a lot more speeding on my block, and hey, it's not safe for my kids to be out there, things like that. And we went through a process this winter to come up with a priority list of traffic calming projects. And those are projects like, we think we need speed humps here, or maybe some curb bulges that make crossings a little bit more narrow, that just kind of slows drivers down to stay within the speed limit. And the process for the municipality is that a community council passes a resolution, and then we give that project idea to the traffic department. They have someone who works on traffic calming, and they decide if we can do a speed study and see, are people speeding? What does that look like? And then there's another process of then potentially getting it funded so that it can, it's usually out of a bond. We vote on a bond every year. It's about $500,000, and then the municipality can figure out how to actually implement these projects. So we adopted a resolution in January, and since we are right before summer, we're thinking about if we could potentially add more projects to that resolution, maybe just with an amendment, so that the traffic department could think about doing a speed study on those projects this summer. So I just want to plant the seed. I don't have anything prepared or projects to think about right now, but if you're recognizing like, hey, there is a project that would be really important to take a look at, I'll put a link to the resolution we adopted in January that summarizes where we thought there could be some traffic calming. And this might be a topic we could take up at the next meeting, depending on if there's interest, if there are lots of projects, and we'll meet as an executive board to decide. But I told them I would plant the seed on that tonight, since we're talking transportation stuff. Okay, And so with that, I'm going to step back and turn it over to our audit committee to share a brief report about our audit from this past year. I'll turn it over to you, Irina, first as our treasurer.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lindsay. I just want to start off thanking our audit committee for doing such an excellent job. Tani took the lead and wrote a memorandum that describes the funds that I'm going to read from now. So currently, or as of the end of the audit period, which is March 31st, 2021, we had $28,000 and $28,287.13. And in addition to that, we also still owe $2,000 to for the challenge grant for Spenard Beach Park. So that is, oh, there we go. Perfect. An outstanding balance that we have. And after this memo was written, we have something on the bottom talking about money that we owe. The $199 has now become a donation. So the amount of money that we have is what we have plus $199. What we did this year is move our account from First National Bank to Northern Bank. It's a lot more functional for us and a lot easier to use. And they also don't charge us for just having an account and not doing anything with it every month. So that's been really great so far. So we are still waiting on $1,500 from the Spenard Farmers Market. We gave them a loan a couple of years back and it should be repaid by the end of the year. Last year, they paid half of it. They paid $1,500 and we're waiting for the other $1,500. But other than that, yep, the $26,388 plus $199 is the current amount of money that we have.
Yeah, and can I add some follow-up notes about the report here? I know usually we just do a little write-up, like a paragraph or something with some bullets, but I thought let's make it official and make it a little bit more formal. I do want to point out, so there are a couple different dates to note on this audit report, which is our audit period is from March 1st of the previous year to February 28th, or the last month of February of the current year. So, however, you will notice on, and I'm looking at this screen, but I'm over here, under the statement of financial position, I did reconcile our bank through March 31st, which does technically go into the next audit year. The reason I did that, though, at the top was so that folks could understand about the bank change, because that was approved by the board, by the entire council. And I wanted folks to have the update and not have to wait a full year to learn that information and to sort of see that new balance. So that is the one caveat. Everything else, though, below that, after the bank change comment, so from 2020 income and below, all of that, whether it's income, expenses, assets, it all is in the audit period. So that's why if you are a finance person and you're wondering about kind of how the money maybe slightly changes, maybe it goes down just by like 2,000 or goes up a little bit, that's where the difference of balances kind of happens. But I promise it all balances out, especially now with this one $199 donation, which it is listed twice, but that's because it was an expense and also it was an outstanding check that had not been cashed. But thank you, Lindsay, for her wonderful, that's what audits are for, to find those things out. And thank you for the donation. That donation will be recognized, though, in next year's audit. So if there are any specific questions, though, about the audit process, I can answer them. Otherwise, everything got a gold stamp of approval from the audit committee. The money is safe, secure, and all there. I think that's what's important.
It's all there. Great, thank you. Any questions from the council? I'm not seeing any.
Paul's waving.
Oh, okay. I can't see him. Please, I'll stop sharing.
Sorry, I gotta find that hands up button.
Oh,
Good
it's hard
evening.
to, I couldn't see because I was sharing my screen, so I can see you now. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, fair enough. Just out of curiosity, it's a very significant amount of funds in the account. The expenses seem very low. What's this money usually earmarked for historically? What's it used for?
That's a great question, and I'm going to turn it over to Peggy. We don't really have earmarked budget each year, but we do have reasons why we do have such a substantial amount of cash, which not many councils do. Peggy.
And is there a point where you I'm inclined to donate something to help out, but just like to know where it's going to go or what it's going to do. That's kind of why I'm asking.
Well, we've also had conversations about this very question. We've definitely talked about, not getting into like big loans and things like that. We've had conversations about microloans, also about doing just community projects. How do we fund community projects? I think we would love to hear more ideas from other people, but yeah, Peggy can offer where the money came from, because I think that is always the interesting part.
No, I'm not interested where it came from. I'm interested in where it might be going.
But that's kind of part of the history. The monies came from when we had a doodah parade for several years and culminated at Mike Gordon's. It was very generous in that he would share the receipts from a big outdoor festival that they'd have over the weekend. And so that's where most of the money came from in the original, and Tom could speak to this too. There was a beautification committee, and in the beginning, the idea was kind of to do beautification along Spenard Road, and most of the vestiges of that are gone. There's still the concrete planters, the banners that were up until they were so tattered that people were begging for them to come down. Actually, those were donated by businesses. But the idea was beautification. We were talking for a long time about a park right there next to the pawn shop on Benson and Spenard that was going to be dedicated to Benny Benson instead of that horrible thing on Minnesota and Benson. And so that money was set aside for that for a long time. And we had like architectural plans and everything. And then it turned out that it was going to be beyond our budget. And it just sat there for a long time. And the monies would generally be spent for, like, they would have the rodeos at the Spenard Rec for the kids, just little things like that, picnics. And then a grant that came from the feds that was used for neighborhood watch for the West Side Patrol was used to purchase a motorhome that was used for that patrol. And then when that was sold out, we got another 10,000 from that. So it got a really big kitty. And what happened is, because the original plans were too expensive, a lot of the people that had been working on that moved away or retired or whatever. And so basically what it's been spent for in the last few years is things like Barber Street Park. There was a dog waste station, and I think trash cans and things like that. So I think that the community council really hasn't put the time and discussion into, like really because the value of the money has been steadily going down, because this pot's been sitting there for over 20 years. And what it was in true value back then, because of inflation, is just going down, which is unfortunate because we don't have it in an interest-bearing account. So because we don't file taxes. And so it and I don't know if Tom wants to add anything to that, but that's why it's been sitting there. Do you have any ideas, Tom?
Well, some of the money goes back all the way to the 80s when Alan Thornhill and Ron Egley from Gwinney's repaired the machines that the kids use at the rec center. And the money from that went into the fund. So a lot of different, it came from a lot of different places. So it's been going for 40 years now that we've been raising this money. I think I would love to see the council come up with something to spend the money on that would be for Spenard, that would last forever. And I don't want it blown. I would hate to see it just spent on whatever. I would like to see a monument or something that we could point to 30, 40 years from now, or maybe some of these younger people could point at 30 or 40 years from now and say, Spenard did this. So I would say for homework, maybe Lindsay could assign us all homework that, what are some ideas that we could come back with, say in the September 1st meeting, or, the 1st of September, and what are the ideas that all the Spenard people could come up with? What could we do with this money? Like we've talked about the Spenard Garden a lot of times. And I think that would be very beneficial for Spenard, but I don't want to blow it. I just want it used so that it will benefit us for a long time.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, Paul. And that background and history is really helpful because we do have a lot of opportunity. So we haven't done a lot of concerted fundraising because we do have this pot of funds, but we don't necessarily have the vision of like, oh, here's this big project we want to put it around. We could come up with Spenard Community Council project, use some of our funds, do some fundraising, have a very clear use for it. So I like your idea, Tom, of having a community challenge to come up with some projects that we could come together on. Maybe
I would say we should step it up from September to our next meeting.
June.
In 4 weeks, this group would come up with a lot of probably great ideas.
We're gonna have a pretty packed meeting in June, I think already.
Pickles.
However, I'm a fan of work groups, and we could have people come together and talk more and think more about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great question. And Amber, you've got your hand up. Go ahead, Amber.
I was just going to say 2007 West 36th Avenue. It's been for sale and vacant for almost 10 years. And I mean, I've had brainstorming ideas of making a private community garden there and donating all of the produce to Clare House or, any of the food banks. And I mean, that's something that would give back to this community for hopefully centuries. And that's been a huge problem property, not just for me as the direct neighbor, but all the neighbors across the street, across the tracks, down the hill. And so I just wanted to put my 2 cents out there on that. And I also, just so everyone knows, have been thinking about starting fundraising so that I could, earn or get the money to buy that property myself. And my husband and I would kind of turn it into a community garden on our own, kind of something private, but where we're just giving back to the community. But I'd much rather have everyone involved and not be on my own in that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Great. Well, we were good on time, and we've got lots of ideas that we could keep digging into on this, but I'm going to move us into just adopting or approving our 2020 audit. Are there any objections to approving the audit? Hearing none, the 2020 audit is approved. Thank you, audit team. And a report out on the votes for the Oak and Keg MOU and the capital improvement program list. Both are approved, 17-0 each. So thank you all, wonderful community members. And that leads us into our community announcements section. So I'll try to call on folks as I see them, and this is their opportunity to share just a couple minutes about topics, projects, events, things going on in your area. If you also have, if this is your first meeting and just want to introduce yourself, we would love that too. And I'm going to first start with Danny Hotstetter, who's our J-Bear liaison, and then I'll go to Karen Button and others as I see. So Denny, thanks for joining tonight and sticking with us.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm Denny Hostetter, a public affairs specialist at JBER. And the reason I'm on tonight is we're trying to make a more of a conscious effort to attend these community council meetings, just let people know some of the things going on out at JBER. And there's quite a bit going on out there right now. And if you have a question, feel free to dive right in the middle of my spiel, and I'll do my best to offer up an answer, or at least point you in the direction where we get the correct answer. So with that, item 1 is a big exercise. You've probably seen a lot of increased airplane traffic out there and just a lot of increased activity if you've driven by. It's the Northern Edge exercise, which is a large-scale military exercise that started just a couple of days ago. It's a U.S. Indo-Pacific Command sponsored Pacific Air Forces led joint training exercise, and it'll continue to May 14th. So that should be a week from Friday, I believe. And it's going on at several military installations, not just JBER, but also local airports and training areas around the entire state of Alaska. This year's exercise involves personnel from the Army, Marines, Navy, and Air Force. And it's really kind of cool seeing all of them working together in our office. We have Air Force, Navy, and Army, and they're all collaborating together to conduct this exercise. It's a joint task force tactical and operational level requirement and transformation initiatives, and it'll be going on for about another week and a half. That's the Northern Edge exercise out at JBER. Item 2, if you see smoke coming from the JBER training areas over the next few weeks, don't be alarmed. It's all part of reducing the risk of wildfires. I think those who work in the Forest Service call them backfires, something like that, in order to burn some of the vegetation and growth in a controlled manner, as opposed to an uncontrolled manner, which can then ignite into a wildfire. We don't want that happening. So if you see smoke coming out from our area, that's what it is. Item 3 deals with expired ID cards. Because of the COVID situation during the past year, the base has been very lax about expired ID cards for dependents, who are coming on base. Now they're going to start tightening up. So take a look at if you're a dependent, take a look at your ID card and see whether it is expired. If it is, you have until July to get it renewed, get it updated. So keep that in mind. Item 4.
Hey, Denny, how many items do you have?
Oh, 1.
One more. Okay, let's go.
Yes, actually 1.5. Post Road Gate will be closed right now up to the 4th of July weekend. And then the Boniface Gate will be closed from the 4th of July weekend into mid-August. And the last would be congratulations and a salute to Terry. You might ask who Terry is. Terry is one of the military working dogs for the 673rd Security Forces Squadron, who officially retired recently. Terry worked at JBER for more than 5 years, working both explosive detection and patrol. And after Terry's retirement, he was adopted by one of his handlers. So congratulations and a salute to a job well done by Terry. Any questions?
Thanks, Denny. And let's connect if you have, if you're able to join us more often, we can build you into the agenda, because that sounds like a real update. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Karen, we'll go over to you.
Thanks. I'll make this quick. I know we're almost out of time here. Crete Cleanup is coming up along with Anchorage Cleanup. And we are organizing, Friends of Fish Creek is organizing a couple of teams to do some sites on May 22nd. And we're going to be cleaning from Northern Lights to Northwood. And if anybody would like to sign up for that on the 22nd, then you can reach out to me. Let's see, I guess, if you send an email to Fish Creek Friends riseup.net. And if anybody wants my phone number, then just shoot me a message, I guess, and I'll respond. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Karen. I have a couple updates, so I'm going to share until I see someone else wave around. The first is from the Spenard Road Rehabilitation Project. That's the Benson to Minnesota rehab team. They have come to present a couple times, and they're starting to put some alternatives together, different things that could happen along that stretch, but they're doing a site walk on Tuesday, May 18th from 3:30 to 5:30. And they'll meet at the Church of Love, which is now called the Nave. And you can use your smartphone and take pictures and fill out some survey, or you can get paper and fill out a survey at that point as well. So I'll put some of those questions or some of that information in the chat, and then we'll also send an email out with that information. And I have an update on the Spenard palm tree. So Cindy Berger, who is the property owner of the former Paradise Inn, you may have seen, she's been doing a GoFundMe to help move and restore the palm tree, and it's happening. The palm tree will be on the move Wednesday morning next week at 8:45 in the morning. I'm gonna be there. You're all welcome to join. Glacier Signs is going to be moving the palm tree to their facility so they could do some of the rehab. And I'll try to live stream. I'm a millennial, but I don't know how to do that for real, but I'll try to share it so everyone can learn and be part of it. But if you're interested, come out to Chugach and Spenard Wednesday morning, and we could celebrate the next phase of the palm tree. So that's exciting. Any updates? I also just wanted to give another reminder that the cleanup is going to be this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. by the Napa Village Inn section along the Fish Creek Trail and Spenard Road. Anything else?
I just have a quick announcement for anyone who doesn't know me. My name's Amber, and I just wanted to let everyone know Blexit has an official Alaska chapter. So I just want to tell you what we're about real quick. Advocating for school choice, promoting criminal justice, campaigning entrepreneurship, free enterprise, developing history programs that will inspire minority children to succeed and lead productive and responsible lives. So just go to our Facebook, go to the website, check us out. We're brand new. And if we have events, I'll just keep you guys updated. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks, Amber. Any others? Okay, door prizes. If you signed in on our sign-in sheet, Arena's gonna take this away. And we're gonna put out of the box.
Yes, we're going to be doing out of the box. So I'm going to say this right now. If your name is called, please put your address into the chat. We'll probably have to mail you an actual card instead of being an e-card. And to Jerry, your e-gift card will be on its way. So from last month. Just wanted to let that be known. Okay, so there were 17 people total who filled it out. And I'm one of them, so hopefully
I filled it out too.
What?
I filled it out too. I don't usually, but I did.
So good. Okay, so we're gonna do a random number generator from 1 to 17. Apologies for the time. Okay.
Out of the box is amazing, by the way. If you have not already been there,
Yeah,
I would recommend.
I hope I win so I can go. It's been highly recommended. Okay, so the number is 4. Oh, am I 4? This is not rigged, I promise. Oh my god, I am 4. It's me. Congratulations to me. I promise. I can share my screen if you want to see. I'm not rigging this.
You guys, so you know, out of the box might be shutting their doors. Their lease is up soon. So just use that soon and call them and make sure, just to find out.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, it might be a different place.
But you know, I know the owners, they're really, really sweet. And I think they're just kind of burnt out and ready to move on.
Oh no, we gotta go soon. Okay, next one. Next number is 12. And that is, oh my god, it's Lindsay. We're gonna go.
Pick another one. This is rigged.
This is so funny. Okay, it's number 8. Number 8 is Paul Berger.
Yay.
Congrats. Please message an address that you would like this sent to.
We'll just
So
show
it's not rigged, obviously.
Totally rigged.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us tonight. Our next meeting is June 2nd. And like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we're still trying to figure out in-person meeting and how that could go at the rec center. Thank you all for joining on Zoom. It's been working really well this year, so we may be meeting on Zoom, but we'll see you all this weekend at the cleanup. And then we do not meet in July or August. So we will do some fun creative thinking about Spenard projects and what we can invest in as a council. So we'll think of a way to get everybody's input and get involved and do some fun planning stuff around that. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to
Move to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second. Michelle seconds. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate seeing you all tonight. It's finally springtime-ish. Get out there.